Hello and welcome to the Writers of the Future podcast. This is John Goodman, your host. Today we're at the Salt Lake City FanX, and I'm here with Brianna Winner, the co-author of the Twin Soul series. Welcome, Brianna.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So first of all, let's just talk about how we actually met, because it was, I think it was at, was it WonderCon that Emily first met you with via Kevin Anderson, you were at his booth?
It was. I feel like it was 5 or 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely WonderCon. I remember it was the first time I met Kevin Anderson and Rebecca Moesta, and you guys were in the booth, you and Emily Jones, and we walked up and said hello, and that was that. Exactly.
So then how did it progress from there? Just because I've been with you on panels in San Diego Comic-Con. You've been presenters at our Writers of the Future event.
So what I remember is we immediately, hit it off with you guys and Kevin and Rebecca, and you said, "Wait a minute, you're not coming to Writers of the Future?" We said, "What? What are you talking about?" And then we finally learned what Writers of the Future was, and we were way behind. I tell all authors now, I said, if I could start again, I would submit to Writers of the Future. That's the best way to start. Absolutely. And it's not even necessarily about winning, it's about just the experience and the critique from the judges and all that. Well,
Exactly. So now you've got an amazing arc yourself with your journey as a writer. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Oh, thank you. So I started writing over 10 years ago now, and I'm an identical twin. My twin's name is Brittany, but everyone calls her Britt.
Right.
And we started writing because we are both dyslexic, and we were being bullied at school, but we love storytelling. We grew up at Comic-Cons, we grew up in comic book stores, and watching sci-fi movies. So it was our dad's idea for us to write a book to prove to us that we were not stupid. We started writing that book, and first we started writing with speech to text, and he also helped us type. So we would talk to him, he would write it down.
Yeah.
And after 9 months with school and homework at the time, we had our first draft. And we realized we fell in love with writing more than anything. And we wanted to be real published authors.
Yes.
And we wanted to be the people behind the booth at a Comic-Con.
Right.
And of course, back when you could just walk into San Diego Comic-Con, which is a trip. And we submitted for awards, and we ended up winning 8.
Yeah.
And then we went, after that, we ended up going national into every Barnes & Noble store and Borders, R.I.P. Borders.
Yes.
Oh, Borders in the U.S. And that's how we became America's youngest multiple award-winning authors at age 13.
Right.
And from there, we continued writing, and we ended up opening a 501c3 nonprofit called Motivate to Learn, which we focused on youth literacy, social inclusion, and educating and inspiring others with learning disabilities or any sort of disabilities, telling them that they could overcome whatever they face in order to do what they want to do.
Right.
And we did that tour for many years, nationally and then internationally via telepresence.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to be in front of hundreds of thousands of students. And then at the same time, we're working comic conventions.
Right.
And
there was school too?
Yes, and we ended up actually going on independent study.
Yeah.
Because we loved it too much, working too much, and there was just no way to go to normal school and do that. And the principal of the school we were at the time sat us down and said, "Guys, you got to make a choice." And so we made a choice. And then we ended up, I think around 16, we ended up graduating high school.
Right.
And then we just kept going on our career. And because we were so far ahead, because we started so young, we did take college classes, but we never went formally to college.
Right.
I think at some point we will. And I think I'm going to do it for something like comparative mythology, or just something I'm passionate about, because I do already have a career set up.
Right.
I like what Todd did. Todd McCaffrey, my co-author, he went and got his MFA in art. So I may do something like that. I'll just go get an art degree or something for myself, because education is so important.
Sure.
And now we actually ended up meeting our co-author, Todd McCaffrey, at Writers of the Future.
Yeah.
We became very good friends, started a writing club, and we talked about art and writing. And then my identical twin, to be 2 years ago now, actually went blind overnight. And when that sort of thing happens, you see very quickly who really cares about you and who does not.
Yeah.
And for us, Todd just just showed up every day at our door saying, "Hey, what are we doing today, guys?" And we were terrified because if you go blind overnight, there's a high percentage that it's going to be something lethal.
Right.
And it could be genetic. So we thought we both may be going. And we were very scared, obviously. And so it was just doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment, Britt adjusting to her new life, being visually impaired. And every day, we started to write with Todd. And Todd was there. And I have to say that you and Emily and the entire Writers of the Future team, the Galaxy Press team, were there for us. And we will never forget that.
Yeah.
We really love you guys. And we started to write. And we started to come up with ideas. We wanted to create a completely original take on dragons, which is actually really difficult to do because there's so many people that write about dragons. I mean, it really captured the human imagination in a profound way.
Right.
So throughout this process of the last 2 years, we found out that it's not genetic and not lethal. Thank goodness.
Absolutely.
Britt is happy, and she has a wonderful guide dog from Guide Dogs for the Blind named Davis.
Mm-hmm.
You met Davis, right?
I've just seen all the different pictures, all the different videos.
You got to meet Davis. He is such a good boy.
Yeah.
He's a very serious dog. Yeah, he loves to guide. He likes counter surfing. But I'll go back to talking about writing.
Yeah.
With Todd, we ended up creating more than one series idea because we all get along so well. We created the name McCaffrey Winner as a pen name, so it's the three of us writing together. And we have a historical fantasy novel set after World War I, which our first draft we just completed a few days ago.
Right.
But the series we have out now is the Twin Soul series, and that was really our light through a very difficult time. And I really think when people read it, I think they could, and I hope they feel the sense of joy and wonder and love we put into this series because it was when we were going from doctor to doctor's appointment, we were writing this for the love of writing and the love of each other. And what we ended up deciding to do with the Twin Soul series is, we've seen dragons with traditional types of immortality.
Right.
Right? Of course, how cool is that? An immortal dragon. Come on.
Yeah.
And then we've had dragons turn into humans. Humans turn into dragons. We thought, well, what if dragons cannot achieve immortality in the traditional sense? What if they need another soul, a twin soul, that they must combine with so their magic fuses so they continue on? Mm-hmm. So it's one body, two people in there, a dragon, a wyvern, another being of great power, and a human. And they're twin souls, which is where the Twin Soul series name come from.
Wow.
And our series starts out with a battle between an airship, the first ever airship, and a wyvern, which is a type of dragon. Mm-hmm. The wyvern is fatally hit by a cannonball and drops to the forest below. And our first two books are from two different perspectives, the wyvern's perspective and the airship's perspective. Wow,
that's interesting. It's like what Scott Card did with Ender's Game and Ender's Shadow.
Oh, yeah. Well, no better comparison than Orson Scott Card.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And then now, so that brings you here now at FanX. And so do you find that you're mostly able to excel by doing the convention, or is it this helps to launch and spark sales through Amazon, or you still have the Barnes & Noble? What's your magic?
So Britt and I were indie before indie was cool.
Right.
I remember my first convention over 10 years ago, sitting at the Book Expo of America, Heck, you may even been there. And you would have just said, who's that kid over there? And, of course, we thought it was a great idea to show up in costume before cosplay was a word. Because I was 12 years old. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's the one beautiful thing about not knowing what you can't do.
Yeah.
And the first person that walked up picked up my book. He asked me, who's your publisher? I said, we are. He laughed at me and threw the book on the table and walked away. So that's my first experience. And I also like to tell everybody that just to know that when those kind of things happen to you, use it as fuel, because it's going to be a great story later on.
Yeah.
So we started out differently. We pre-ebook, but now I say that they are symbiotic. Mm-hmm. So we have the reach online, helps with the conventions, would help with online. But we started differently because we started so long ago. So long, because I'm so old. But I think for new authors...
You're what, 22 now?
24.
Oh,
24, John.
It's only downhill from there now.
Oh, my God. I'm so offended. That's my Cali girl accent. There's a reason I trained it out of my voice. But I think for new authors, I think what's most important is to learn Amazon and go use kindlepreneur.com, read anything by Brian Meeks, look into Writers of the Future, and then attend conventions first as a attendee, and then get a table and then a booth. But I think everything now is online, so that's the most important thing to focus on.
Okay, good. And then, now you didn't really do the short story thing. You went straight to was it, like your first step, were they novellas or were they actual novels?
They were books. Our stories bloated up big time, and that's maybe not grammatically correct. Forgive me! Yeah, there are 85,000 words, and we wrote it that way to prove we could.
Right.
If I was starting again, I would probably start with novellas. I'd probably start with short stories. I would submit to Writers of the Future. I would, attend conventions and maybe join writing clubs, writing groups.
Right. There's also the on Writers of the Future on the website. We've also got the podcast. This podcast will be there shortly, but we also have the blog.
Yes,
and we have a forum, the Writers of the Future forum.
Yes, I think I've been referring to that without naming it, but you're right.
Yes.
It's the forum. It's just the support group.
Right.
I really find that the literary world is a lot more accepting and welcoming and loving than a lot of other forms of entertainment.
Right.
If you talk to other authors, generally they want to help you. They're nice, down-to-earth people. Most of us spend our time in a room with a cup of coffee or tea and a pet. That's kind of how we spend our time. We spend our time alone. We're happy to talk to people.
Yeah.
So you got, and I think there's a lot of naturally introverted people that are attracted to writing.
Uh-huh.
They can be very scary, just getting out there and talking. And the power of something like a forum is that you don't have to see them live. You could just get over your social fear first online and then walk up to them.
Yeah, good. And in terms of any tips or advice that you'd like to give for the aspiring writer?
Creative writing should be creative, and the core of creativity is joy. So you need to be having fun. And I think that's the secret ingredient for anything good. And it sounds cliche, it sounds silly, it sounds like something you tell a child, but if you think about it, we try to tell the most important things to children in the simplest of ways.
Right.
So have fun. Write something because it makes you smile or makes you feel. Enjoy it. Don't do it because you want to be the next Shakespeare. The fact is there was only one Shakespeare, and that was quite a while ago. Just do it for yourself and compete with who you were yesterday instead of with others. Good.
And if somebody wants to find out more about you, how can they find out about you and your sister?
Absolutely. So my name is Brianna Winner, winner like winning, and I am one half of the Winner Twins. So if you research the Winner Twins, we have our website, our Instagram, our Facebook. You kind of have to be everywhere now.
Right.
And our co-author, Todd McCaffrey, of course, it's Todd McCaffrey.
Yeah.
If you just put in McCaffrey Winner or Twin Soul series, our series with him pops right up.
Great. Thank you very much, Brianna. And thank you very much for listening to the Writers of the Future podcast here in Salt Lake City. Writers of the Future is a contest that was created by L. Ron Hubbard in 1983 to provide that helping hand for the aspiring writer and artist. Subscribe to Writers of the Future podcast. We're on SoundCloud, iTunes. So stay tuned for our next show. Thank you very much.